Hi there, welcome to my YouTube channel. So let's imagine you are a police inspector who is investigating a murder case where victim was stabbed to the death. You have also found a suspect, but there is no direct evidence to link this suspect with this crime. But you have found various clues. By now, some of you may be checking the title of this video. So bear with me, you will be surprised how this story unfolds. Now, let's get back to our example. The first clue that you found was you have a witness who saw the suspect running away from the crime scene. And he also explained that this suspect hand was stained with the blood. Let me ask you, is this evidence sufficient enough to convict this suspect? Well, there may be various reasons why the suspect was running away from the crime scene. Also, there may be other valid reasons why the suspect hand was covered with the blood. The second clue that you found was there was some money stolen from that house in which victim lived, and you also found substantial sum of money in the suspect possession when he was caught. Does this evidence says that this suspect is a murderer? Maybe not, right? How can you prove that this was the same money that was stolen from the victim house? Now, third clue. So there is a witness who said that there was a quarrel between suspect and a victim earlier that day, and where suspect had threatened to kill this victim. Again, this is a strong motive, but on the basis of this evidence alone, you cannot say that suspect has anything to do with this crime, because people say a lot of things on the feet of anger. That doesn't mean that people usually go around killing other people. Now the fourth clue. You have found a murder weapon, and the forensic report says that killer was a left-handed and the suspect is also left-handed. Now important thing here is that all these evidence are a circumstantial evidence, meaning that none of this evidence can directly link this suspect with the crime scene. But the important thing to consider here is that none of this clue single-handedly can link this suspect to the murder, right? But if you combine all these evidences, then you can come to a conclusion that there is something fishy going around here. That suspect, although might not kill that victim, but he has something to do with the murder, right? On the basis of these clues, you can interrogate suspect, right? And it depends upon the ability of law enforcement to obtain the confession from the suspect. So if he is innocent, then he will have all the valid reasons for all these clues. However, if he is a actual killer, then his story will be incoherent, and down the line he is going to make a mistake and get caught up. Now now by taking this analogy, we can say that at the time of transaction monitoring, we are trying to do the same. So in transaction monitoring, we have different scenarios, right? And each scenarios gives us certain picture of the transaction, not the whole, but only limited picture. And as a ML analyst, we try to fit all this puzzle together to form a conclusion whether that transaction is a suspicious or not. And this is the main problem with the transaction monitoring. Let's say, for example, there were two transactions. Now let's look at these two scenarios of transaction monitoring. there was a alert raised when two deposit transaction under threshold was done by a customer. You have a different ML analyst working in an organization, and one ML analyst looked at this transaction and made inquiry with the customer, and the customer said that this transaction is related to his business. Since this was a one-off transaction and the customer also explained it nicely, right? It was done for his business purpose. So ML analyst ignored this transaction and let it go. So after 1 month, this customer wire transferred to multiple unrelated parties at different branches. Again, your scenario raised a red flag, and this was investigated by your second analyst. Okay, different from the first one. So he or she asks this customer about this transaction, and that customer said that he has a business where he needs goods from different places, and these all payment were related to those goods. Okay, now the second analyst will first verify the customer explanation with the transaction, and it looks okay, and he will also verify whether there was a previous red flag regarding this account, and he found that that his colleague had marked this transaction as not suspicious. So now he will proceed towards again ignoring this transaction. There lies the main problem with transaction monitoring. Okay, similar to our earlier example, when you look at this transaction in isolation, you may not find this transaction as a suspicious. Since there was a gap of 1 month between these two transactions, there is a chance that second analyst will overlook the first transaction and declare the second transaction as not suspicious, and this is huge risk. Why? Because these two transactions are the characteristic of hundi or hawala transaction. The other name for this hundi and hawala transaction is alternative remittance system. You can say that a ML analyst will also review the previous transaction. Okay, will review the whole transaction in the account statement of that customer and will determine whether this transaction is suspicious or not. How can you be sure? Okay, maybe he was in hurry, right? Maybe he is newly hired, or maybe he has a lot of pending alerts that he needs to clear it off by today. I mean to say that there are lots of area where human error is possible, and we cannot discount that. Also, we have in our organization we have this term called scary Monday, meaning that on weekends there are a lot of transaction, and on Monday morning, so on our AML solution, we see a lot of red flags that need to be cleared as soon as possible. So there is a chance, I am not 100% sure that there is a still chance that people or some ML analyst may take some shortcut, meaning that transaction which should have been reported as STR, and this is a risk. Why? Because if your regulator finds out that you had this STR and you didn't report it, then you have to suffer from a huge fine. Now I want to throw a light to another problem of transaction monitoring. So as per international practice, you need to monitor all transaction, okay, all customer transaction that are happening in your organization. So you will create a lot of scenarios, right, to monitor those transactions. So how many scenarios do you have in your organization? 40, 50? I have seen some organizations have more than 100 scenarios. And can you imagine the number of alerts, right? Maybe above 1000 per day. And how many people you need to hire to clear this alert? Okay, maybe you need a group of 10 to 15 employees or more than that, who knows. Okay, and further there is a cost to the organization. Why? You need to train these employees on a regular basis, right? So meaning to say that usually I have seen in many organizations that transition monitoring is consuming a lot of resources, plus it is not that effective also, right? There is a chances that some STR transaction may be missed. One of the solution for this problem can be solved by the help of machine learning or artificial intelligence. I will not say artificial intelligence per se because it is a broad topic. However, data science, which is the subtopic, and machine learning is also the subset of data science, can be a really useful tool to help us solve this problem, right? And it has really stepped up in transaction monitoring. And there are a lot of vendors coming up with this new data analytics solution, right? And they are saying that it is a silver bullet to solve your problem. But before you make any kind of purchase decision, I want to ask you, do you really know about what machine learning is? Is it a bird? Is it an aeroplane? Is it a Superman? Or is it some kind of silver bullet that will help to solve all of your problem? To answer that, you need to first understand the some basic concept of machine learning. And let me clear this first. Okay, so before we dive into the topic of machine learning, I like to share with you my sad story. So this happened to me. We had this AML solution, okay, and we had created a lot of scenarios to monitor transaction of customers. So there were like around 50 to 60 scenarios, and the alerts were like above 500 per day. Okay, and and because of human constraint, there was a COVID at that time, so a lot of staff were on leave, and because of that, this alert build up, right? It continued to increasing day by day, and we are trying hard to really clear up those alerts. However, during that however there was a sudden visit from regulatory bodies. They were coming for inspecting MS safety, right? And during that audit, they found that one transaction was very suspicious in nature, right? And it was not reported timely, not reported. Okay, so we tried to explain regulator that we had this human constraint, and we are trying as much as possible to clear those alerts, right? And although, yeah, and another reason we gave them was, although that that suspicious transaction was not reported, but eventually it would have been reported, right, once we begin to analyze that transaction. However, they did not listen to us, okay, and they threaten us, right, because they threaten us because we didn't do the efficient job, okay, that our mechanism was not that strong, and as a result, I had to provide explanation to the management as well as to regulatory bodies, and it was quite difficult for me and my team. So I'm not sure whether this is fair or not fair. You may be judge of that, okay? But after that I decided that this is not going to happen again. So I began searching for a efficient solution regarding transaction monitoring. And after month of study in machine learning, I realized that this could be one mechanism to help to solve my problem, right? And I found it very useful. I actually applied in my organization, and the result was above satisfactory. So I'm trying to share that knowledge with you so that you can also implement in your organization, because if I have faced that situation, then that means that some of you who is watching this video, or someone that you may be facing similar kind of situation. So I have made this video so that you or your colleague or anybody you know will not have to go through the same ordeal that I have been. So enough about me. Now let's dive into the subject matter. So if you look at the definition of machine learning, you will find that in Google that it is the method of training algorithm with the data, and then it will start predicting on a new data without any instruction. Yeah, I know that this is not a clear definition. So, and let's hear my take on machine learning in the context of transaction monitoring. Machine learning simply is a algorithm, right? And to train an algorithm is not a very difficult thing to do, okay? And it doesn't need a long lines of code. The important thing is that you need to first have the data about suspicious transaction, okay? And on the basis of those data, you need to identify what are the parameters that may indicate that this transaction is suspicious or not. For example, number of transaction below threshold, number of wallet transaction, number of mobile banking transaction. Okay, you will clear once we look at the example. And then you need to identify best machine algorithm to train on this data, right? And after training, now this algorithm will start predicting whether the transaction is suspicious or not on the basis of new data. You will understand more once I show you the practical example. And machine learning is so from my experience, okay, machine learning is a very efficient method. Okay, it saves you a lot of time and effort, and and this means that you don't have to spend a whole Monday evening clearing those alerts, right? People say live a little, I say live it up, enjoy fullest. So jokes apart, now let's look at the data set. So this is our data set. Okay, so this is the branch name, account name, and these are the parameters. Okay, now let's look at these parameters in another sheet in a detail. So I have already copied and pasted it. Okay, let me zoom this so that you can see it. Let me zoom this so that you can see it more clearly. Uh, so yeah, this scheme code is like a type of account, whether this is saving, current, call, or so on. Such a subsegment refers to the occupation, account occupation of the customer. Okay, so it can be like a teacher. Okay, teacher, businessman, employee, retired, and so on. Yeah, you can see from here also. Yeah, self-employed, government staff, salaried, right? And risk rating refers to the risk of that account. Okay, low, moderate, high, and so on. So usually there are three category of risk. Account open refers to the number of years that customer account is with the financial institution. So can you guess what are these? So these all are the features of transaction. Okay, number of transaction between 6 lakhs and 10 lakhs. If that customer has so how many times that this customer has performed this number of transactions. Okay, so all these parameters are related to transaction of the customer. Okay, IPS is a online transaction. Whether that customer has performed any online transaction, then we have got that number here. So mobile transaction, okay, how many mobile transaction he has done, how much amount of mobile transaction, both debit and credit, meaning withdrawn and deposit through the mobile through mobile, that customer has performed is also captured here, right? Account transfer, okay, how many account transfer he has done, how much amount he has withdrawn as a account transfer or deposited as a account transfer. We have also the parameter of swift. Okay, how much swift that account has received and the payment has gone through the swift. We have similar parameters for wallet transaction, card transaction, post transaction. Okay, so we have covered almost all types of transaction performed by a customer in his account. Okay, and as you may know that suspicious transaction can occur in any type of transaction, right? And the final is STR. So let me show you in this data. Here 0 means that this account is not suspicious, and 1 refers to the this account is a suspicious. Okay, and by now you have already guessed that all these transaction, all these are actual STR data, right? We have the data of number of customers, okay, which transaction we had recorded as suspicious and not suspicious. Okay, so on this, this is a training data set, and on this training data set we will train our machine learning algorithm. And after that algorithm is trained on this training data, it will start predicting on a new data on the basis of these parameters whether that transaction is suspicious or not. So we'll look at that process in our next video. So please don't forget to subscribe my channel so that you will not miss that upcoming video. Further, if you have found this video useful, then please do like and share this video. Moreover, I also provide a training course, that is ML Safety Zero to Hero course, where I teach candidates about different types of machine algorithm and how to create them so that it will help in their day-to-day job. And I also teach them some advanced topics like Power BI, Tableau, SQL, and some advanced Excel, which are the very important skills if you are working in a ML safety area. So that's it for this video. I hope you have found it useful, and please do like and share this video so that it may be useful for others also. So thank you for watching and have a nice day.